questioners, but we'll go ahead. Coach,
How many questions did we take last time?
58.
58. Okay.
Yes.
I'll take the under on that. Signing day's very different now than it used to be. We were just laughing about that a little bit as coaches. I mean, we had one guy sign today, which is just the landscape of recruiting has changed a lot. Before I get to that, I want to thank our staff for putting together a great class, and most importantly, is the fit for us. And we've done an unbelievable job of getting the right fit already for the guys who are here at mid-year. They're fitting in really well, and want to publicly thank Mark Pantoni and his staff for what an unbelievable job they do. Year in and year out putting this thing together. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and they deserve a lot of credit for it. Cameron Martinez signed today. Very excited to have Cam. I thought he and his family handled things really well with Jeff leaving and then Kerry jumping in. He really handled it like a pro. The family was unbelievable, and we're really excited to have him. We're going to have to give him an opportunity to play on either side of the ball when he first gets in, which is unique. But this is somebody who played quarterback in high school, very, very productive, and doesn't have a lot of experience playing any other position. So we're going to allow him to do both when he gets here, do some returning, and kind of figure out where that goes. And we're excited about that because we think he's really competitive. I think he's one of the most under-recruited kids in the entire country. So really excited for he and his family to be joining us. That being said, again, I'm really excited about this class because we're here in signing day, and we were already had our second mat drill and almost 4 weeks under our belt with our guys, and couldn't be more impressed with the way they've worked. They're very serious. They're a great fit. They're great kids, and the future's bright. So with that,
open it up. Front row, middle. Dave?
Ryan, you mentioned the landscape has changed dramatically as far as signing day and everything. When you talk to your fellow coaches and just your opinion on this as well, do you guys feel like the early signing period should be maybe in late July at a different time? Just what are your thoughts about that? Because it seems so disjointed in late December.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what it's done is it's just changed a lot of things. I think anytime you make a change like that, the ripple effects, you don't know them until about 4 or 5 years out. So I think we're still working through that. And so then what it did was with the early signing days, it moved official visits to the spring. And then what that did is it took a little pressure off of January, put a ton of pressure in December. I mean, an unbelievable amount of pressure. I think if you play in a championship game and you have 1 week to go out on the road as the head coach, and one of those, or two of those are going to be some of those award nights, and you have to go see 14 mid-year guys from coast to coast when you recruit nationally like we do, it's almost impossible. So I think that's very hard, but what it's done is taken a lot of pressure off of January. What January has become is what old spring recruiting used to be. So I think we're still trying to adjust the calendar, and I think we have to be very careful about making any more adjustments until this kind of gets settled and we figure out what this this model looks like here, really a 5-year window, is my opinion.
Now that you can talk about Kerry, last time we talked to you, couldn't really talk about Kerry. Will he be the one calling the defense, and will one of the guys be up in the box, either him or Greg Madison?
Yeah, so it's kind of like the way that Kevin and I did it, and the way that they've done it in the past last year with Jeff and Greg. I sat and had a great meeting with Larry, with Greg, and with Kerry, and just told them about how much respect I have for their experience, and whatever it is, they're going to go in that room and figure that out again this year. And like I say all the time, in college football, every year is a completely different year. And you have to go in and figure out what that year and what your personnel looks like and what the right things are. And they're going to go in there and do that. And, at the end of the day, somebody has to walk out of that room with the final say, and that'll be Kerry. But they're all professionals, and they're all going to have their hand in this thing. And, they're all team players, and they're all in this thing together, just like we are on offense.
Third row left. Dan?
Ryan, staying with Kerry for a sec, you talked about your philosophy that you have, and you kind of want that to stay the same. Obviously, Kerry's done some different things in his past and here in the NFL. How do you guys kind of work together on that in terms of just deciding what the best defense for Ohio State is in 2020?
Well, I think that's one of the things that I even brought it up in the meeting, just tell you how our meeting went. I said I thought one of the things a couple years ago, when I had an opportunity to come here, was to look at what we were doing on offense, and I had a playbook this big coming from the NFL too, but that wasn't right. But one of the things that we added was the crossing package, and that was the right fit at the right time. And I said that to Kerry. Well, whatever those things are, or whatever in Greg's past, or whatever in Larry's past, or with Al, or with Matt Barnes, whatever those right things are for who we have, that's the key to coaching. It's not coming in and just running blitzes or running coverages because you think that that's a great coverage or great blitz. It's what fits our personnel and what puts our guys in the best position to be successful.
Also wanted to ask you about CJ Saunders. I know that he's still listed on the roster online. Are you guys still kind of waiting to hear what's going to happen with him?
We are. Yeah, we're waiting. We're looking to see if they'll grant him a 6-year.
How do you manage that in terms of scholarships, in terms of not knowing whether you're going to have to save scholarship for him?
These things have their way of working themselves out, as we know, but that's also a tricky thing. And we had to walk away from a couple of guys here in February because I didn't want to be put in that situation. And so we'll see how these things work out in the spring. And obviously with the transfer portal, we never want to lose anybody, but you also have to forecast that out a little bit so you're not short. And then there's also medicals and different things that way. So again, they have their way of working themselves out, and we're just going to try to forecast the best we can.
Fourth row left, Andy.
Yeah, we spoke to a legend earlier, and he talked about placing an emphasis on going out and helping get the best receivers in the country to go against in practice. What does that say to you about the mentality of a guy who's looking to go out and get the best talent on the opposite side of the ball?
Yeah, well, I think that's a huge part of what we say in recruiting, is that when you look at what Jonah Jackson did this year, I think Jonah would sit up here and tell you that one of the things that really helped him become one of the top guards coming out this year was that day in and day out, he was practicing against Devon Hamilton and Chase Young and B.B. Landers and Jay Sean Cornell, or that, what made Jeff Okudah great, I think Terry McLaurin did and Paris Campbell. And there are scouts and head coaches and GMs that when they come in for pro day, they actually will sit down and watch our one-on-ones. They won't actually watch a bunch of games. They want to see how our guys look against Denzel Ward. What did that look like? What did it look like when Thayer was blocking Chase Young? Because we know what Chase Young is. And so when you're playing against really good players day in and day out, your development happens faster. And that's one of the things we talk about a lot. And that Legend's right. I mean, if you're going against Julian, you're going against Chris Olave, you're going against Garrett Wilson or Jamison Williams, just like these guys have done here in the past, then you're only going to get better. And there's a great template for that in our past, and we continue to use that in recruiting.
You mentioned Julian. What separates him as one of the nation's best receivers?
I think he's physical. He's big, he's strong, he's mature. I think so far his work ethic has really shown that it matters to him. He really cares, and his attention to detail is strong already as a young player. But we'll see. We haven't gotten the field yet. But his playmaking ability, God's given him some great talents. And then how does he create this discipline and skill that he needs to play at this level? And that'll be between he and Hart. But I think he's got the right tool set. He's got the right mentality.
Second row left, Ari.
Hey Ryan, when you guys were throughout the entire process and even at the end, it seemed like you guys wanted to take 2 running backs. And I know you had to walk away for one because of what Dan was saying with the spots, but is Cameron Martinez a potential solution to that? Is that what you were implying when you said offense? Is he a running back in college maybe?
He could be, yeah. Yeah, he could be. I mean, you saw what he did in this highlight film when he was a running back. He has the ability to do that. We're going to start him at that H who can kind of come in the backfield, like you said, and take some handoffs. And who knows? We don't know. That's what's exciting about him. And I think he does have the ability where he could go play nickel or go play corner. And I think that's what's exciting about Cam. We're going to allow him to have a lot of feedback in this. We want him to be, have a bunch of say in what he likes and feels most comfortable with. But yeah, he's definitely an option.
As a coach, I know that you have a strong bond with a guy like CJ because he's been a captain and in this program for a long time, but you also have numbers that you have to hit. How do you strike that balance emotionally when you have to sometimes make a hard decision between, do you take the next guy that, like the other running back you were recruiting was a really good player, like do you take the next guy or do you stick with somebody who's been around for a while?
I think that one of the keys right now to our success and moving forward, a year into this, is the balance of young, talented recruits who come in here who want to play early, and then having the maturity of guys who are 4th and 5th year seniors who have been in the program, who bring a certain level of leadership and maturity that the team needs to go win the whole thing. And I think balancing that is part of the job as the head coach and figuring that out. And CJ's maturity, his leadership, the talk he gave at the Big Ten championship game at halftime is unbelievable. Guys like Justin Hilliard getting up in front of the group already in mat drills and just talking about a bunch of stuff moving forward. We need that leadership. We need that maturity because we do recruit a lot of young, talented guys, but You don't want to have an immature group when it goes to, you know, got to go play those games, those bowl games in January. And so that's